I'm Brendan Yurik with Electric Royalties. We are a clean energy metals focused royalty company. We've built up a portfolio of 43 royalties to date, centered around copper, zinc, tin, graphite, manganese, metals that are going to be needed for the future. We've got cash flow, and we've got an extensive portfolio of royalties that are about to enter cash flow and production over the next 3 to 5 years. Excited to be here.
You excited?
Yeah.
Good. I'm excited.
I'm excited.
It's
an exciting time at PDAC.
It is.
There's a lot of interest in the space, we haven't seen in a long time.
Yeah.
And a lot more people here than you usually see, so.
There's a heck of a lot more people here, but you're not just kind of milling around. You're here to actually look at some companies, have some conversations as well. So what are you on the lookout for?
So we're really looking out for copper assets right now. If you look at our NPV on our portfolio, we're about 15% copper, 15% lithium, 15% manganese, 15% graphite, and 15% tin, nickel, zinc. But we really like copper, and so our focus right now is really producing copper mines, producing copper cash flow for us, and getting royalties on those. That's really the fundamental deals that we're looking at right now.
And obviously you kind of got to pick up the right sorts of deals. So in terms of the company profiles that you want to go and talk to, what do they look like?
Yeah, so I think we always try to play within a niche. We don't have the money that a private equity group has.
Yeah.
If you look at some of the deals in the space, Orion and Euromanganese, about a $100 million deal they signed for a comparable royalty to our Battery Hill royalty. And given that our valuation is 20 million Canadian less than, we can't really compete with 50 million per royalty. So we have to be a bit unique. But we found, if you look at our last operator, Punitaki, producing copper gold mine in Chile, we got a royalty on that last year. And it's actually majority owned by the Yorktown Group. So a big private equity group. They've got about 3.2 billion under management. And to your point, it's nice to have operators that have cash. Yeah. And so, you look at some of our other assets, our Middle Tennessee Zinc asset, they just announced a deal. They have Korea Zinc coming in for about $7.4 billion. They're going to acquire both the Middle Tennessee mines, one of which we have a royalty on, and the smelter. And they're investing, $6 billion plus alongside the U.S. government. To basically build the first new zinc smelter in the U.S. in a very, very long time. And so great operators, great money, and money going into projects is always going to be good for us. So.
Yeah, the focus, is obviously people who have picked this up, is critical minerals, right?
Yeah.
Outside of kind of the typical precious metal focus that most royalty companies go for, not too many people doing what you do. I'm just trying to think how you have conversations in a market like this where money seems so readily available. Is it readily available? Are you competing with regular cash?
It's funny walking around the floor because every gold and silver project out there, they're saying, hey, we have money, banks are offering them money, there's lot deals left, right, and center. It's funny, it actually hasn't drifted down necessarily to the critical metal space, even though pricing has gone the same. Lithium prices are up about the same as gold over the last year. But the amount of money going to those guys hasn't been there. And when you look at private equity groups that are dedicated to clean energy metals, there's very, very few of them. And most of them dedicated all their money to a very few projects. And none of them will do a project or a deal size under $15 million. And so when you look at deals under $15 million, which is the vast majority of opportunities out there, there's almost no capital for those. And so there's definitely still opportunity out there for us. Ours is, we have the same challenges that there's not that much capital for that space. So us attracting capital as well is also kind of, the biggest challenge that we face in terms of doing new deals.
Right, and obviously the cost of that capital is going to be another important factor for you because it's tough out there if you're not gold or silver at the moment. Even the copper companies are struggling a little bit. Just talk to me about the kind of construct of the portfolio again. I get the 15 structure, but how much is revenue producing as a percentage of the number of royalties that you've got?
Yeah, so we've only got one producing royalty today.
Right, okay.
And that royalty is producing, this year, we're hoping for about over $500,000. We're expecting that to get up to about $1 million.
Yeah.
Now, our costs of running the company are about $1 million, so we're very, very cheap. So that's almost covers off our G&A.
Yeah.
I think what's really unique about us, first of all, the size of our portfolio, 43 royalties, especially with all the acquisitions that happened last year. There's very few companies that have that number of royalties. But when you look at the advanced stage of our royalties and the number of royalties that could enter production over the next, 2 to 5, 6 years, that concentration of royalties is, a dozen different royalties. Each of which would come into production would change the game for us.
So I want to break it down a bunch of different ways.
Yeah.
I hope you can follow my warped thinking. So 2 to 5 years is a time frame. What about in the next 2 years? Will anything come into production? Will there be revenue flow there?
Yeah.
And if so, what type of profile are those companies? Because some of the deals you're talking about are huge.
Huge, yeah,
right?
yeah, I know. They would.
So when they come, they're coming.
Yeah.
Right. So how do you kind of get by for the next sort of for your company in terms of the next sort of 3-4 years in terms of covering your G&A and covering those kind of costs and obviously accessing capital as well?
Well, when you're looking at 3-4 years out, then some of our bigger royalties are coming into production potentially.
Right.
And so we have our Bissett Creek royalty, where Northern Graphite's the operator. Also happens to have some government funding from the Canadian government. Those guys are targeting production earlier than 3-4 years out at Bissett Creek. They want to make that their flagship asset. The production profile they're talking about now is about 4 times when we bought into it. That would be a very significant royalty. They had 70 years of resources at the old production rate. And so, that's within that 3-4 year time frame. We also have our Zonia copper project that could make it in that. Edge Copper just took that along, so they are now making that their sole asset. They just doing right now a 50,000 foot drill program, and FS should be out in the next couple of years. And that's a 1.5 year construction time. CapEx was pretty nominal, but 100 plus million. They just doubled the resource to £1 billion. Fantastic copper project, really excited. That could definitely make it in that time frame as well. We've got Graf Mata and Oche. They're a little bit smaller in terms of cash flow, but each of those added to Punitaki makes us cash flow positive. And then we have Mont Sorcier coming right around the bend. I mean, we're expecting a feasibility study on that in Q2 of this year. Huge project. Glencore is a partner. They've already lined up about 500 million of financing from the UK Export-Import Bank. So real legs. And that one again, big royalty for us, 40 plus year mine life we expect. Immediately would add, kind of US 1.5 million a year for us in revenues. So there's a number of royalties, and you look in that 3-4 year time frame where we're actually getting there. Seymour Lake would be another one. They've also got Canadian government funding. They just had an extension of an LOI for $100 million from the Canadian government, and they're targeting production within that next kind of 2-3 year time frame as well. So each of those will be major cash flow for us, significantly more than we have today. You're talking each one adds kind of 8 to plus times. So in that time frame, we're looking good. In the near term, we are looking to add one more producing royalty in the near term. That's kind of our initial focus.
So I want to talk about, I want to get the commercial reality of this, right?
Yeah.
I want to make money.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm looking at a company like yours. It seems to be the secret to success is get in early, get in cheap. I've got a long hold period in that sense, but when it comes, you're looking at a company with a very low G&A, very low kind of cost structure, but then the money kind of rips in, a tidal wave of money kind of rips in. So that's the setup that I need to look at and go, could that be part of my investment portfolio?
Well, I think it should be a part of anybody's portfolio.
Right.
If you look at the other royalty companies out there, and you've had some new entrants like Versamet, just came in, at the end of last year, already over $1 billion company. Most of the, kind of mid-tier royalty groups are now well over $1 billion valuation. And, if you look at the kind of junior space, there's royalty companies out there right now valued over 200 million that have 1-2 royalties. And so they've, just started, they've gotten out the gate. I think you look at our portfolio, 43 royalties, we're valued at less than $20 million today. And all of the upside is in that near term, that next couple of years. So, I mean, the upside to get from where we are at today, like if you divide $1 billion, by 20 million, that's a 50 times number. I'm not saying that's where we're going to get to, but you're buying in much cheaper today in a portfolio that has all the upside coming, over the next few years. Very little risk, right? Because, I mean, our company costs almost nothing to run. So yeah, we've made a lot of those early bets. We were paid $150,000, $200,000 for some of these royalties. They had no resource at the time, and they've had $50 to $100 million raised and spent over the last 5-6 years. So it's been a long time coming to this point, but really our moment in the sun is going to be, around the corner here. Okay,
so you've done a lot of the heavy lifting early on, and that's the kind of setup. In terms of, obviously, the market it's a very difficult market, as we've described, a lot going on in the Middle East at the moment and elsewhere, which is having an impact on decision making. This is a long-term play. These are long-term decisions that you're making, and royalty companies, I think, broadly they tend to get it taken out, right? So, which is like, but they get taken out for multiples, which I don't particularly kind of appreciate. So in terms of where you sit, is there anyone sort of coming along and saying, look, I tell you what, we've got to have these guys in our portfolio right now, or do we get to enjoy the ride with you, unencumbered, and see the upside in 2-3 years' time?
Yeah, so I think the nice thing is, look, our shareholder structure is, kind of bar none. Over 50% is just between my family and Stephen Gleason's family and himself. We're both directors of the company, 2 of the 4 directors. So our shareholder structure is very, very tightly held. In terms of valuations and where we go from here, I mean, yes, we're extremely cheap. If you're looking at royalties and the cash flow that we could generate, over the next 5 years, we're trading at a huge discount. When you say getting taken out, yeah, we've had groups come to us. The nice thing is, because of our share structure, we're never going to be able to take an over hostile. Yeah. That said, we are very open to putting portfolios together, to M&A. If you combine 2 portfolios together, it's the easiest way to grow without almost any risk. And you put those 2 portfolios, you're now diversified over, let's say double. You go from 40 to 80 royalties. You've now doubled your cash flow. The cost of running the company is still the same as running one company. You just combine that. You might be very nominal over it, but you're still talking just more revenues, more royalties, more diversification, really at no extra cost. And so we're exploring, strategic M&A options. You look at the space. You've had Lithium Royalty Corp, which is probably the closest competitor we have, kind of clean energy metals focused, and we've got a very good lithium portfolio, just acquired for $500 million. By Altius, and so you're seeing these bigger portfolios get gobbled up, and it's going to groups that want to grow. It's what next, and so we do have 43 royalties. We've got a really good resource base, and we're very cheap. So I expect M&A is definitely going to be a subject for discussion this year. Yeah, you could ride this out, and all these things come true, and 4 years out, you're looking at a much different company. But at the same time, if you combine 2 portfolios, you can find one that's equally, I don't think anyone's as equally undervalued as us, but if you can find a decent, kind of match, then that synergies and the potential to grow from there is also pretty compelling.
M&A coming together, joint venture of some kind of description, whatever that mechanics of that look like, is one way. We've seen sort of, it's not even like a new entrance, it's like a completely left field entrant with Tether.
Yeah.
Like last September, sort of formally announced, where, I think Elemental and EMX kind of came together, and before that Tether had been using it as a mechanism to buy up gold. Do you think you'll start to see, in this kind of critical minerals environment, do you think you'll start to see different types of money attracted to the sector, partly because, like Tether, they want access to the physical metal, and partly because it's of the investment or in a royalty?
Definitely, I think people are definitely learning more about the space and kind of becoming more aware of some of these situations. As someone who's been already in this space, looking at these projects, looking at the supply for so long, it's like about time, But I think you're already seeing that in the U.S. government, probably the biggest player for us. Tether's been on the gold side, like you said. Yeah. They've invested in most of the gold royalty companies, I think, at this point. They haven't done anything on our side yet, but I do actually think there's an argument for them to come, do critical metals. We're still hard assets, We're still going to be impacted by all this stuff as well. And I think the supply side is a much more compelling argument in terms of where pricing could go on these. So I think you could see them over there, but on our side, the U.S. government, Canadian government, governments around the world, whether it's the $500 million UK Export-Import Bank financing for Mont Sorcier as well, the governments are definitely starting to play a much bigger role in the space, and they're partnering up with private equity. And you've seen that $5 billion plan with Orion, where the U.S. government. So I think that's a really smart thing, where you got government money partnering with guys in the space that actually can deploy it. So it's interesting. That's brand new. You haven't seen anything like that, in my 15, 20 years.
Well, certainly, I think in Canada, obviously where we are today, the Canadian government really have kind of stepped up a bit in terms of, you've got these ponies, projects of national interest. I do like that. And other kind of P1 type projects, which are getting access to federal and provincial budgets and funds, and fast-tracked as well. That's got to help projects get into production sooner. It's got to be good for you guys, but this emphasis on green is still there. Yeah,
and that's fantastic for us. And permitting-wise, you are seeing a lot more kind of red tape get cut out of the way, which is nice. And for us, we always bet that domestic source supply was going to be something important. So if you look at all of our assets, they're really all based in North America, Canada, US, Australia, and Europe, because this is what we always expected. And so when you look at some of our assets we get no value for today, like Sleetat, that's probably going to get some action this year. It's the only tin deposit in the United States really that could be economical for them to produce tin at home. And so, if they want to produce tin, they're going to have to activate that mine. And so you're going to see, I think, government funding start to drop down to some of these earlier stage projects, but that we are invested in on this basis that you will need to have some kind of source of this material at home. Tin obviously being one that they haven't produced since 1986, but very critical metal for most of the technologies that we're looking to use in the 21st century.
Okay, looking forward, you've given me some indication that looking at M&A, having some conversations, it would make a lot of sense.
It always does in the royalty space. I
Right.
guess that's the general kind of thing.
And we've seen a lot of it. We've seen a lot of it over the last 3 years, okay? But no guarantees there per se. So if that doesn't happen, it's two things. You've got to either we sit back and wait for all this stuff to kind of come through, or three, you access capital at the right price, which allows you to do deals at the right price and not just be buying any old crap. And get a good return on that investment. So can you talk about maybe the likelihood of being able to access capital in a market like this?
Yeah, there's
where you're at.
Yeah, there actually is pools of capital for our space.
Right.
And I think there is private equity capital for our space as well. So we've had a lot of good discussions with groups like that. A lot of their problems and issues has been actually putting together some of these royalty deals like that we do. It is kind of a specialized, instrument. Most of the royalty groups don't even create, these new royalties, especially on the junior side. And so I do think we're actually going to be able to access that capital. And we do have a number of good deals. I will say if we're going to add something rather than do M&A, it'll be a very impactful royalty. It'll be cash flowing.
Okay.
And yes, we'd have to get it done funded at a better share price than we are, but I do know there is capital out there for that. Again, that's kind of capital that creeped into the space maybe 3 years ago, and now looks really ready to deploy capital. And so, a lot of groups that have been doing learning the space. 3 years ago, nobody had any technical experience in the space, and that's what most of the groups would say. They'd be like, hey, we're excited about lithium, the potential, but we don't know how to judge this. 3 years later, a lot of these groups have done their homework. So I do think the timing has changed for that, and that we will be able to access that. And it will be kind of down to a decision, what is best for our shareholders. That's all I ever really care about. Like I said, myself, my family, 20% invested.
Yeah.
And so, whether we do an M&A route, strategic M&A, or we add one more piece and kind of wait for our portfolio to mature, whatever we do will be ultimately what's best for our shareholders.
Okay. Well, good luck this year.
Thanks,
Stay
Matt.
in touch, young man. I would love to kind of get into the detail of some of these bigger projects and the sort of time frame. I know it's difficult to give guidance on someone else's activity, but to talk in kind of broad ranges would be useful to us in terms of how much money they're allocating to whatever, drilling, development, infrastructure, and like you say, all this kind of government money as well. It's just understanding what that looks like and what the access is, that gives some sense of the deliverability.
Well, and I wish I could give you guys all the updates that we have, because 43 royalties, we got, drilling is going on 7 or 8 projects right now. Feasibility is coming out on 5 or 6 different projects, construction decisions and on, multiple more. So, but next time we do that, I promise you, we can run through some of our bigger royalties in detail.
Beautiful.
I think that would really help investors.
Thank you.